Welcome to Ink Odyssey.
A story is a journey. Becoming a storyteller is a journey all of its own. Let me share mine with you. I am Stephen McCumber, and I will be your navigator for this odyssey of becoming a storyteller. As storytellers, our job is to weave together a tale for our audience. Let us practice this, you and I. Imagine you're standing on a pier in a bay, open to the ocean with waters smooth as glass and reflective as a mirror. The sun has set long ago, but the sky is clear, the full moon rises, and the galaxy stretches from horizon to horizon, a band of purple splitting the star-speckled darkness. I stand waiting for you at pier's end beside a ramp to board a galley, one unlike any you have ever seen. High above the prow, the regal likeness of a dragon's head points the way forward, its proud stature held by an intricate neck plunging down into the sea. Quills of beautiful white plumage plucked from a rock point to the sky, reaching higher than the mast, their hollow shafts anchored to the vessel's flanks. Ink stains the veins of each feathery oar, cloud white turning to blue, then black. Centered on deck, the mast is a column carved like braided rope with script burned upon its coils. Atop the mast is not a sail, but a scroll of giant proportion. As you approach, you hear music, soft, calm, and low. Welcome aboard Ink Odyssey. Tonight I would like to give you some insights into the journey I am offering. So let's get settled in and be underway. As soon as we step aboard the galley, it tilts away from the dock. The quills fall into the sea, sending the smallest of ripples outward. Stars dance and jump along the water with each ripple sent by the rise and fall of oars taking us further into the bay. There is no drum or boom of beat, but through the planks you can feel the rhythm guiding the feathers. The night air is cool with a gentle breeze bringing the sense of rich earth and the growing things it feeds. Can you see it? Are you with me? Good. Get comfortable and let's talk.
Meet your host.
As I create this podcast under the pen name MacCumber, who I am is a mystery. Not much of one, mind you, but I'm no big name anywhere. You won't find accolades or fans or whatever else you'd like to imagine. My pen name isn't for anonymity either. It's for sentimental importance, preference, and an attempt to remind myself to take opportunities. Let me introduce myself to you as completely and succinctly as I can. I have the joy of being a father and the privilege of being a husband. Raised Mormon, I left the church in my teens and am currently an agnostic. I'm an American and believe my country and its people direly need change. As a white male growing up in a predominantly white Christian area, I was blind to a lot of social problems I've since learned of. I'm against white supremacy, misogyny, transphobia, and anything that puts another person below others. I'm still ignorant of many things, but I aim to learn and improve. Why am I saying all of this? Because writing and storytelling isn't just about Jack going on an adventure up the beanstalk. To truly understand who I am and why I'm here, you need to understand both my relationship with stories and how I define them. I grew up quite isolated, and more than anything else it was stories that saw me through to adulthood and kept me safe, sane, and guided me into becoming who I am. Seriously, without them I believe I would be in prison or dead today. Stories prevented this outcome because they provided me with a sense of belonging when I immersed myself in them, regardless of whether they were a book, a game, or a movie. One thing they taught me was that I wasn't the only one to feel like they didn't belong. Stories helped me because the best of them are an emotional journey about the human experience. And through reading them, I learned how to deal with my own tumultuous emotions. It's not that I had stronger feelings or significant trauma to overcome, but that I didn't know how to handle my emotions. In particular, I didn't know how to handle my anger. Being alive is a messy affair. A story is how we as a species offer guidance, support, advice, and friendship, just to name a few things. Stories remove us from our own lives and suffering by placing us into the life of another to witness their suffering and its outcome. For the astute reader, there are lessons to learn and bring back to our own lives. Reading increases our empathy and gives us insights into those who aren't us. A story can do all of this because it's an emotional journey, and I posit it's emotions that make us human just as much, if not more, than our intellect. Stories are also inherently political, not government politics, but the politics of human interaction, which is a talk for another time. For now, know that the inclusiveness and exclusiveness of diverse representation is immensely important on a social level. I am not a man of faith, but if anything can reveal our soul, it's the stories we tell. That's who I am. Stories are among the most important aspects of our lives, if not the most important. My goal is to understand storytelling and gain mastery of the craft. Ink Odyssey is my method and desire to share what I can, because every human deserves to tell their story. But the sad fact is, if you can't tell it well or entertain when you do, people aren't likely to listen. Telling a story is a hard task and complex enough that we could all use a hand. My focus is on writing novels. Though every medium of storytelling is valid, I simply believe that writing is among the purest forms in our society, and one that every single person is capable of by some means or another. If you're considering writing for the first time, I'm here to help guide you through the quagmire. If you're already a writer, well, I'm going to frame things in a way you've never heard before. My name is Stephen MacCumber. I am a storyteller, and I aim to ensure anyone else who wants to be one can as well.
The Golden Rule.
If you only take away one thing from me, let it be this. There is no single way to create a story or do anything in any creative field. Whatever a person tells you, no matter how skilled or successful they are, it's only advice on what's worked for them. You should listen, then try out what they advise. There are 3 potential outcomes. First is it will work great and become a tool in your kit. Second is it will be terrible for you and never to be used again. Third, the advice will kind of work but require some modification before adding it to your toolbox. The golden rule, put simply, is to do what works for you. If something gets you from nothing to a finished first draft, then guess what? Whatever you did works. Your job is to identify what does work for you and understand it so you can utilize it efficiently. That being said, it is important we delineate areas that can be ignored and what shouldn't be ignored. Advice on things about the act of creation, such as discovery writing, plotting, character creation, world building, and so forth, all of that you could ignore if it doesn't work for you. Those areas are where you need to uncover what works best for you. The best way to do that, however, is to experiment. And the easiest way to do that is to try out what others who've already done it advise. The other information we can't ignore are things like the general structure of a story, what makes a romance or a horror a horror. For these topics, what you need to find is a way to frame it that makes the most sense to you. Who explains it in a way that it just clicks for you? That's what you're after. Don't reinvent the wheel or redefine what makes a wheel a wheel. These things are long embedded into our society, and no one will thank you for trying to rearrange them. Please don't think these definitions are limiting. You have an enormous amount of creative freedom while sticking to a very broad story structure and genre. These things are tools to help focus your creativity and tell the story you want in a way that people enjoy consuming. Another thing to realize when writing a story is that no two stories are made the same way. Sure, we can have a basic process to follow, but weird tangents get made when creating something from nothing. What you need to discover is what stimulates your imagination and gets you from A to Z no matter what comes between them, even if it's not part of the alphabet or you don't start at A. With the golden rule in mind, I hope that what I say rings true for you and makes sense. If my advice, processes, interpretations, and thoughts help you, I will be thrilled. If they don't work for you and need to be discarded from your process, I'll be happy that you recognized it and hope you find what does work for you. Just don't let anyone tell you you're doing it wrong. Alternatively, don't ignore the advice others have without at least some consideration.
Utilizing Ink Odyssey.
Ink Odyssey is an ambitious project. As you get to know me though, you'll find I have a lot of those. It's about time I get one out there, however. So let me introduce you to what this whole endeavor is about. I've been interested in writing and storytelling ever since I was a kid. I'd read books and insert myself into the stories, imagining I was going through the excitement and forging those friendships. When I grew older, I took myself out of the equation and read to spy on the lives of people who weren't me. Older still, I wanted to create those people and tell their incredible stories. I tried, I really did. But what I ended up focusing on was world building because I was never satisfied with my writings. Young fool I was, I didn't even think to study creative writing. The hobby of creative writing fell away around 21, but it always remained in my head as daydreams. At 25, I gave creative writing a real chance. This time, however, I studied and learned before starting a story. I'm 31 at the time of recording this. I've dedicated 6 years to the practice and study of creative writing, and while I have a way to go yet, I'm far enough that I can start leaving breadcrumbs for others to follow and hopefully shorten their journey. What you're consuming is what I wish I could have turned to 6 years ago. I aim to make Ink Odyssey as comprehensive a writing resource as I can, barring plagiarism. But I'll set up a section on the Ink Odyssey page of my website with links to resources I find helpful. I'll explain as much as I can, as clearly as I can. To begin, let me explain the structure of the show as if it were in books. Because surprise, I love books and plan on publishing these as books once it's all done. Anyway, each book covers a broad range of related topics. For instance, this episode is under the book Foundation, which covers everything a prospective writer should know before they begin their first novel in earnest. Episodes will be grouped together in chapters, each episode being a section of that chapter. This episode is the very first section and the very first chapter of the very first book. Book 1 is Foundation, which I've already described as what prospective writers should know before considering publication. Book 2 is Character and Plot, which are inextricably linked. Book 3 is World Building. Book 4 is Craft and Technique. Book 5 is Editing and Revision. Combined, I will design these 5 books to get you from nothing to a polished novel ready for publication. 2 other books I plan on producing are called My Odyssey and Your Odyssey. My Odyssey will basically be a memoir where I talk about my life, experiences, and some philosophies. Your Odyssey is where I'll answer questions from listeners, share your thoughts, and if you write a story and get it out there and think Ink Odyssey helped, I'd love to know and be happy to share it here as well. I might add some more books onto the list, but that's for another day. What I've got planned now will take years of work. Obviously, you're not consuming this as a book. For now, you can listen to the podcast as audio only through most streaming services, or you can watch the videos on YouTube. Just be aware that while the episodes are identical, they will have different titles. YouTube will have the chapters grouped together in playlists. I will title the audio versions with the chapter first and the section after. You'll also be able to play the audio on my website, where I'll have everything organized in easily navigable pages. Each book gets its own page, and I group the chapters together with an introduction. You can also find PDF transcripts there to read if you don't want to listen or have difficulties hearing. One aspect of my podcast that I'm not currently planning on putting on YouTube is what I call my lounge episodes. Currently, these episodes are audio streams only that you can find on my website or your podcast streaming service. These are unscripted episodes where I talk about anything and everything. At the time of recording this, they don't have transcripts, but that is something I would like to change moving forward for anyone who is hearing impaired. I aim to keep my episodes quite focused and short enough that it's not an enormous commitment to listen, yet you get some in-depth and valuable information. This podcast is a collection of my thoughts on the theory of creative writing, both for you and for myself to reference when I need them. Of course, I advise you to listen to everything, because you never know where a useful nugget of information will be. But you can also hop around and listen to what you need when you need it. As I've said in the previous section, everything I say is what works for me and how I think about things. If it makes sense for you and works, I'll be ecstatic. If it doesn't, then I hope you'll find someone who can present the information in a way that clicks for you. I hope to see you here again and again, and I hope you find success in your creative endeavors.
Production and support.
I started this podcast in the summer of 2020. I'm overhauling my format and updating old episodes for my YouTube branch starting March 2021. As new episodes go up, I'll be taking down the old versions and archiving them. As far as timetables go, I won't promise any level of production. My wife and I had our first baby in September 2020. With neither of us getting parental leave from our work, I could not focus much free time on my projects, because, and rightly so, I was focusing on my baby and wife. In January 2021, I left my job. In February, I sold my car to fund some time at home. Currently, I'm prioritizing being a father and husband and doing as much as I can to lay down the foundation of the career I want most in life, being a novelist. My funds will last me until July 2021. Over the coming months, I plan to focus my creative time on writing my book. Every few days, I plan to take some time to work on this podcast and content for my patrons. I would love to promise regular episodes, but the chaos of life doesn't allow for that. These episodes and the YouTube videos take time to create and polish. I'll produce what I can, when I can, but I'll take the time I need to ensure it's the best quality possible. As a writer, I'm working on my debut work now. As a podcaster and YouTuber, I'm barely starting out. At this stage, your support means the world to me, and I mean that every single one of you who listens or takes in any of my work is immensely valued. So you, and I mean you, thank you so much. There are several ways you can support me. Please go to YouTube, find Ink Odyssey, subscribe, and watch every episode to help me get to the point I can monetize my channel. If you like what I do, one of the most valuable things you can do is share it with others. If you are in a situation where you have extra money, your financial support on Patreon would mean the world. The absolute best outcome I can wish for is to replace my income on Patreon so I can be a stay-at-home father and work on what I love. I would also encourage you to look for artists of any kind trying to start out. Buying their work or funding them via Patreon is huge. That's quite the wish, however. So until July 2021, I'll produce as much as I can and see where I end up. From there, ensuring my family has a home, food, and good health must take priority over anything else. Whatever employment I end up taking, I'll still pursue my dreams of storytelling, but my production will take a blow. Thank you for your time. You have my thanks, and my best wishes go to us all that we may have better lives tomorrow and be that much closer to our dreams and a life of contentment and joy.
Farewell.
Unfortunately, today's voyage is over. For those of you who know my partings well, I bid you a fond farewell. Until you journey with me again, go turn your ideas into ink. If you wish to learn more about me, support me, connect, or see a catalog of what I have available, please visit macumberworkshop.com. You can email me at steven@macumberworkshop.com. For social media, look for Stephen Macumber or SDW Macumber. Follow me on Instagram for some quick tips plus other content, and follow me on Twitter for updates. If you want to support the show and myself, please tell a friend and share your favorite episodes. If you would like to become a patron, please visit patreon.com/SDWMacumber. Even if it's $1, that's another dollar that will allow me to live my dream and support my family, and I will be grateful. Patrons get a host of perks including short stories and their audio versions, ebooks, template files, ad-free videos, access to everything I did in creating old projects, and sneak peek progress videos of my current works. Thank you for joining me. Until we meet for another voyage, go turn your ideas into ink.